The crystal champagne flute shook a little in Elena's hand as Michael Warren lifted a pitcher of dirty, brown dishwater above her head at his parents' anniversary dinner. His mistress, Amber, stood proudly beside him with a smug, victorious smile. Elena didn't move. Her $12,000 Valentino gown was seconds away from being ruined, and 50 guests watched in frozen shock. Nobody at that table knew that the quiet woman about to be humiliated had secretly built a $50 billion real estate empire over the past 10 years. The filthy water poured down her face and shoulders. Amber slapped Elena hard across the cheek, angry that her expensive heel had been accidentally stepped on. "That's what gold-digging trash deserves," Michael's mother, Patricia, said with a laugh, raising her wine glass as if celebrating. She had no idea the company name on her paycheck. Warren Global Properties belonged 100% to the same woman now dripping with mop water. Elena didn't react. Her wet hair stuck to her face, but her eyes stayed cold and focused, locked on Patricia. Patricia's laughter echoed through the ballroom, and Elena wondered how she would react when she eventually discovered she had mocked her own boss. And then there was Michael. How would he handle the truth when the woman he had just publicly insulted revealed that she owned everything he ever wished he could claim? The dirty water wasn't just dirty water. It came straight from the catering staff's mop bucket. Michael had asked for it himself, wanting to embarrass Elena properly. Brown liquid soaked through her expensive French silk gown. But she still sat tall, still calm, still refusing to give them any satisfaction. 10 years of marriage had taught her how to hide everything. Her pain, her thoughts, her real identity. "Michael, isn't this a bit much?" his father Richard finally asked. But his tone sounded more amused than worried. He straightened his tie. The same tie Elena had approved as part of his holiday bonus package from her company. "A bit much," Amber snapped. She stepped forward in her tight red dress, showing off her youth. She was 26, Elena was 38. "This pathetic woman stepped on my Giuseppe Zanotti heels. Do you know how much they cost?" Elena knew. She also knew Amber's card had been declined twice before Michael paid. Elena had investigators following them for 18 months. Every hotel, every lie, every swipe of Amber's card. All of it neatly stored away, waiting for the perfect moment. "I'm sorry," Elena said quietly, water still dripping down her face. "It was an accident." The calm apology only made Amber angrier. She wanted screaming. She wanted tears, something dramatic to make her feel justified. Instead, Elena stayed polite, which somehow annoyed her even more. So Amber did the only thing left to do. She spat in Elena's face. The spit mixed with the dirty water and slid slowly down Elena's cheek. The whole room went silent. Even Michael looked uncomfortable, but only for half a second. Patricia burst out laughing, ruining the moment. "Oh, this is better than cable TV," she yelled, clutching her stomach. "Michael, where did you find such a doormat? I told you for years she was dead weight." Elena slowly wiped her face with her napkin. Her movements were steady, almost practiced. She hadn't expected this exact scene, but she always knew something like this would happen one day. She had planned for every possible version of her husband's betrayal becoming public. What she didn't expect was the cruelty of the people doing it. Richard Warren, Michael's father, worked as a regional property manager at Warren Global Properties, overseeing hundreds of millions in assets. He had no clue his own daughter-in-law was the CEO he reported to. Patricia worked in the PR department, making a very comfortable salary for barely 15 hours of work a week. She had never met Yem Reyes, the private, mysterious CEO of the company. Elena had deliberately used her mother's maiden name, Reyes, to keep her real identity hidden. It was safer that way for a woman in her position. Fewer questions, fewer assumptions, and more control. Michael leaned down close to Elena's ear. His breath smelled like wine. "You know the best part?" he whispered. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. And thanks to that prenup you signed, you're walking away with nothing." Ah, the prenup. The same prenup Elena herself had designed. A document Michael thought protected his family's wealth, when it actually protected her entire empire. "I understand," Elena said softly. She stood up, still composed even with dirty water dripping from her clothes. "I'll leave now." "Yes, do that." Patricia yelled. And don't show your face at Richard's retirement party next month. We only want family there. The retirement party she had personally approved a $150,000 budget for. The retirement party for a man whose job she paid for. The retirement party she had signed off on just 2 days earlier. Elena walked out of the ballroom, heels tapping against the floor. Wet fabric clung to her legs. 50 pairs of eyes followed her, friends, co-workers, relatives, none of whom had ever taken the time to know who she really was. To them, she had always been Michael's quiet wife. They had no idea she built an empire behind their backs. Flashback, Elena's rise. 10 years ago, Elena Reyes was a driven 28-year-old with a master's in real estate development from MIT. She grew up in a small apartment in Queens, the daughter of a janitor and a home health aide. She fought for every scholarship, every loan, every opportunity. She watched her childhood neighborhood change through gentrification. Developers stripping away culture without giving anything back. So she decided to do development differently, ethically. She met Michael at a Manhattan gala. He was handsome, charming, and full of empty dreams about innovative real estate. He called her beautiful, brilliant, inspiring. For 6 months she believed him. They married fast, too fast. She signed the prenup because she thought she had nothing to lose. Her student loans versus his family money seemed fair, but she had already secretly decided her real wealth would come from her own business. 2 months after the wedding, she started her first company, Martinez Reyes Development. She flipped a condemned property in Newark and used every dollar to grow. She bought, renovated, flipped, reinvested. Quietly. By year 5, she was worth $180 million. By year 7, she rebranded to Warren Global Properties, a delicious irony her husband never recognized. By year 9, Forbes estimated Yem Reyes at $31 billion. Michael never suspected a thing. Meanwhile, he became colder, more controlling, more arrogant. And then the Amber affair began. Elena wasn't surprised. She simply hired investigators and collected evidence. She was preparing for the end. Elena arrived at 6:47 a.m. through the private executive entrance. Her assistant James looked up, clearly worried. "Ma'am, I heard about Saturday. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she said. "Is the legal team ready?" "Yes. Conference room B. They've been waiting since 6:30. He handed her a tablet. Also, Patricia submitted another expense report, trying to classify personal shopping as PR work again. "Deny it," Elena said. "And pull her entire file. Every receipt from the last 3 years. Forensic review." James grinned. "Gladly. What about Richard?" "Pull his file too. But evaluate him honestly." The legal team stood when she entered. Catherine Chun, the divorce attorney. David Park, corporate law. Maria Gonzalez, PR strategy. Catherine began. "Your husband filed for divorce at 8:01 a.m. He's asking for $75,000 monthly support, the Park Avenue apartment, the Hamptons house, and 60% of marital assets." Elena almost laughed. Those properties weren't even owned. They were rented from her shell companies. "What about his parents?" Elena asked. "We drafted termination papers," David said, "but it could appear retaliatory." "Is Richard performing well?" "Actually, yes. Very well." "Then transfer him. Alaska. Same pay, same benefits. Effective immediately." The room froze. Alaska was basically exile. And Patricia? Her expense reports show clear fraud. "Terminate and press charges," Elena said calmly. "She earned it." The team exchanged looks. Elena wasn't being emotional. She was executing strategy. "One more thing," she added. "I want every property Michael tried to buy with Amber. Have our acquisition team purchase all of them before he can." James actually giggled. Michael arrived with Amber, looking proud and confident. He thought today would be his victory. Elena arrived alone. Michael's lawyer, Gerald Marcus, listed Michael's financials. $185,000 salary. $3.2 million trust fund. $4.7 million in properties. $900,000 in investments. Then he asked for Elena's disclosure. Elena slid a single paper across the table. Marcus read it. Stopped. Read again. His face drained of color. This must be a mistake. No mistake, Catherine said. These are verified numbers. This says she's worth $50.3 billion. Michael's jaw literally dropped. Amber snatched the paper. What? She yelled. She doesn't even work. Elena is the sole owner and CEO of Warren Global Properties, Catherine said. Everything she built is legally hers. Michael looked sick. You use my last name. That company is my family's. No, Catherine said plainly. Your parents work for her. Michael looked like he couldn't breathe. Elena spoke quietly. I've been building since the day you met me. You never noticed. Amber stood up shouting. This is fraud. She hid everything. No, Catherine replied. Your attorney wrote a prenup that protects all independent business ventures. Elena followed it perfectly. Michael whispered. What about our properties? They belong to companies I own. You've been paying me rent for 8 years. The meeting fell apart. Michael yelled. Amber screamed. Marcus panicked. Elena remained calm. Finally she spoke. Michael, you have 2 choices. Accept the prenup and walk away with your trust fund intact. Or fight me in court and lose everything publicly. You can't do this, he whispered. I already have. Before she left, Elena added. Oh, your parents got their notices this morning. Richard is being transferred to Anchorage. Patricia is under investigation for fraud. Amber hissed. You evil bitch. Elena turned slowly. You spat on me. You cheered while I was humiliated. Everything I've done is legal and deserved. These are consequences, not revenge. The divorce finalized 63 days later. Michael accepted the prenup and moved into a tiny studio in Queens with Amber. Amber left him within 4 months. Patricia was fired, charged with fraud, and forced to repay $340,000. Richard thrived in Alaska and sent a thank you card to Yem Reyes. The media eventually discovered the story. Secret billionaire divorces cheating husband who humiliated her. Elena gave one interview. I didn't build a company for revenge, she said. Revenge was just a bonus. She never remarried. Never dated seriously. She built empires instead. And sometimes late at night, she remembered that moment, dirty water dripping down her face, and she smiled, knowing she had won. 27 executives waited as Elena entered the room. Manhattan glowed outside the tall windows. At 43, she no longer hid. She was a global force. Thank you for coming, she said. Today we're announcing the Newark Community Partnership, a $2 billion project to build affordable housing while protecting local businesses. James handed out folders. The first building we're renovating, Elena said with a small smile, is the same condemned property I bought 12 years ago. And the room broke into applause. The applause echoed around the conference room like a wave of pride and admiration. Elena stood confidently at the head of the table, her hands resting lightly on the folder in front of her. The room was filled with respect, genuine respect, the kind she had earned through grit, intelligence, and years of hard work. Let's get started, she said warmly. James dimmed the lights as the first slide appeared on the screen, a picture of the abandoned Newark building. The same place she'd once purchased with everything she had. This was my first real investment, Elena continued. The place everyone said wasn't worth $1, but I believed in it. And today we're going to transform it again, not for profit, but for the people who live there. Her team watched her like she was the sun, because to them, she was. When the meeting ended 2 hours later, executives poured out of the room buzzing with excitement. James lingered behind, closing folders, gathering notes. You okay? He asked softly. Elena nodded. I am. For the first time in a long time. I actually am. She moved to the window, her eyes traveling over the city, her city, that she had built piece by piece. And somewhere, across the sprawling landscape of Manhattan, another person sat staring out of a very different window. Michael Warren woke up to the sound of the radiator banging again. The old pipes always made noise in the morning, filling the studio apartment with clanks and rattles. He rubbed his face, feeling 3 days' worth of stubble scraping against his palms. He looked around the cramped room. The single bed against the wall, the chipped dresser, the tiny kitchenette. This wasn't his life. Or at least, it wasn't the life he had imagined. Amber had left months ago. No note. Just blocked him on everything. He dragged himself out of bed and walked to the cluttered counter where an eviction notice sat half-folded. He wasn't being evicted. Not yet. But the landlord wanted repairs he couldn't afford. Michael sank into the only chair he owned. He missed money. He missed luxury. He missed dignity. But most of all, he missed Elena. The realization hit him every morning like a brick. She wasn't what he thought she was. She wasn't weak. She wasn't quiet. She wasn't passive or boring. She was powerful. She was brilliant. She was everything he had ever pretended to be. And he had thrown her away like trash. A loud knock pulled him out of his thoughts. He opened the door to find his father standing there, bundled in a heavy coat. "Dad." Michael blinked. "What are you doing here?" Richard stepped inside, brushing snow off his sleeves. "Visiting. I've only been in town for 2 days. Thought I'd check on you." Michael swallowed. "How's Alaska?" Richard gave a small smile. "Cold. But good. Really good." He paused. "You know, I actually like it there. The job is real. They appreciate me. And the people? Honest. Hardworking. Different from what I'm used to." Michael nodded weakly. Richard looked around the apartment. "Son, you okay?" "No," Michael said honestly. "I'm not." Richard pulled out a worn envelope. "I didn't show this to Patricia. And I won't. But, you need to see it." Inside was a small typed note. Elena's name wasn't on it. Only 3 letters were. Yamar. Michael recognized the initials instantly. The note read, "Congratulations on your excellent work in Anchorage. Your numbers are outstanding. Keep going. You're capable of more than you know." It felt like he couldn't breathe. "Wait," Michael whispered. She sent you this?" Richard nodded slowly. "I didn't know at the time, but now I understand everything. Elena didn't ruin me. She didn't ruin you. She didn't ruin our family. She only held us accountable." Michael collapsed into the chair again. "Dad, I messed up." Richard didn't argue. He didn't soften it. He didn't say it's okay. Instead he said, "Yes, you did." And then more gently, "But you still have time to rebuild yourself. You just have to want it." Michael looked at the letter again. The only kindness Elena had shown him since the divorce. A kindness he didn't deserve. His throat tightened. "Dad," he said quietly, "I wish I could apologize to her." "Then do it," Richard replied. "Even if she never forgives you, it'll still free you." Later that evening, Elena sat in her penthouse office. The sky was fading into deep shades of orange and purple, Manhattan glowing beneath it. She was reviewing project reports when her laptop chimed. A new email. She nearly dismissed it, but the subject line froze her. From Michael Warren. Subject: "I owe you the truth." She stared at the screen for several seconds before clicking it. The message was short. "Elena, I know I am the last person you want to hear from. I know I deserve nothing from you. But I need to say this. Not for you, but because I need to face the man I became. I'm sorry. For everything. For every insult. Every lie. Every betrayal. You didn't deserve what I did to you at the anniversary dinner. You didn't deserve how I treated you for years. I thought you were beneath me, but the truth is, you were always far above me. I see that now. And it hurts in a way I can't explain. You built something incredible. And I ruined something that could have been good. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve a reply. I just needed to tell you the truth. If nothing else, thank you for the time you gave me. Michael." Elena stared at the message for a long moment. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply read it, closed her eyes, and exhaled softly. James knocked gently. "Elena? Everything okay?" She nodded. "Yes. I'm fine. Just finishing up." She didn't respond to the email. She didn't need to. Some doors were meant to stay closed. Warren Global Properties hosted a grand event at the flagship hotel downtown. The ballroom shimmered with gold lighting, crystal chandeliers, and thousands of fresh white orchids. This time, Elena arrived with confidence, not hiding, not shrinking, not pretending. And across the room, Richard Warren stood near the stage, greeting guests warmly. Patricia wasn't there. Her life had taken a different turn. Richard spotted Elena and walked over, smiling genuinely. "Thank you for inviting me," he said. "It means a lot." "You earned it," Elena replied. "Your work speaks for itself." Then Richard hesitated. "Michael won't be attending. He said it didn't feel right." Elena nodded. She wasn't surprised. Richard added quietly, "He still regrets everything." "Regret," she said softly, "is part of growth." Richard looked relieved, as if those words alone lifted a weight from him. Before leaving, he handed her a small card. "He asked me to give this to you. I didn't want to at first, but he insisted." Elena accepted it. Later that night, back in her office, she opened it. Inside was a single sentence in Michael's handwriting. "I hope the world treats you the way I never did." She closed the card slowly. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just closure. The kind she could accept. Months later, hundreds gathered at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Newark Community Partnership. Families, business owners, city leaders, all cheering as Elena stepped up to the microphone. "This project started with one abandoned building," she said. "A place people once ignored. A place many believed had no value. But value is not always about what something looks like now. Sometimes it's about what it can become with the right care." The crowd applauded. And that is true for people too. Behind her, the new building sparkled. Bright murals, restored brick walls, and a bustling plaza filled with laughter. James whispered, "You did it." Elena smiled. "We did." One afternoon, Michael stood outside the Newark project, staring at the finished development he once mocked without even knowing it. Children played in the courtyard. Small businesses lined the ground floor. A community center stood proudly at one corner. A plaque caught his eye. "Built by Warren Global Properties. Founded by Yem Reyes. In honor of every neighborhood that deserves a second chance." Michael inhaled sharply. A second chance. He stood there for a long time, letting the truth settle in. He couldn't undo the past. He couldn't get her back. He couldn't change who he had been. But he could change who he became. He pulled out his phone and opened a new note, titled simply, "Who I Want to Be Now." For the first time, he felt something close to peace. Not because he was forgiven. Not because he earned redemption. But because he finally accepted responsibility. Never underestimate quiet people. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never assume someone standing beside you has nothing of their own. And never destroy someone who is building something you cannot even understand. Disrespect will cost you more than love. Pride will cost you more than money. And losing a good person will cost you more than you can ever repay. Elena rose. She built. She healed. And she proved that the strongest kind of power is quiet, patient, and unshakably confident. She won, simply by becoming everything they never believed she could be.